Welcome to another episode of Do Go On. My name is Dave Warnocky, and as always, I'm here with Matt Stewart.
Hey Dave, so good to be here.
Great to be here with you. And also this week, we are joined by Cass Paige and Joel Duscher.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Hello, we're in Sanspants HQ.
Yeah, welcome.
We're at your home.
Yeah, I live here. This is my bedroom.
This is our crib.
Yeah, welcome to MTV Cribs.
Thanks so much for having us, but also you're welcome for us having you.
Yeah, we appreciate
Hey,
it.
we're having each other at once. It's
Yeah.
podcast 69.
It's a full-on podcast 69.
Well, a podcast for two.
Yeah. It's a rare podcasting experience, but it does happen.
Yeah.
And you're listening to history right now, listeners.
Dave, it's been quite a while since the douche has been on, probably to a lesser extent. Cass, when were you last on Cass?
Many moons, but only moons.
Yeah, only a few months, I reckon. But douche, It's been years since the Ryan Gosling episode.
Yeah, that was like around episode 50 of Do Go On, I think.
Bloody hell.
Well, we're closing in on 350.
Jesus Christ. So yeah, it's been a while.
So your Gosling report really broke the internet.
Yeah.
We had to wait for it to heal itself, but it's
Yeah.
healed enough, and we're back now, and Matt is going to tell you how this show works.
Okay, so how it works, douche,
Yep.
is one of Jess, Dave, and I usually.
Mm-hmm.
Jess isn't here, so that rules her out. Oh no, I'm already off to a bad start here. But one of us chooses a report, a topic, based on usually a listener suggestion, and we'll go away and we'll learn about it. And we'll write up a little old school report, and then we'll come back and we'll share it with the class, which in this case is the three of you. I'm doing the
Fantastic.
report this week.
Great. Honestly, one day we'll get it really succinct by
that
350.
Really sucks. That was one of my worst in a while. But to get on the topic, we ask a question, and the question this week is anyone can answer.
Yep.
And someone we believe is keeping score at home, so you could be on the.
Yeah, you could get a point. You could be on the
This could be
spreadsheet.
my
Alright.
first ever point, because I don't think I've been on Do Go On except when I did my own report,
Yes,
which
you
means
So you had your own question then.
had my own question.
Yeah.
So the question is. Back in 1907,
Oh, I'm in
what
trouble.
was Beijing known as in Western Europe?
Oh, Peking.
Correct.
God damn it! I had one chance
Sorry.
and I blew it.
Sorry.
Well, you were scared off by the year.
Yeah,
He wasn't around then.
That's right.
That's
Oh, man, I wasn't
I'm in
alive then.
so much trouble.
Fortunately, I was, so I remember that.
It was back when Essendon were winning most of their premierships.
yeah. Very, very touchy subject at the moment. So let's move on.
All right, so we're talking today about the 1907 Peking to Paris automobile race.
Oh.
That's
Okay,
great.
I'm not great with geography, but I'm good enough at geography to know that that's a long race.
Yeah.
And 1907, not famous for having good cars.
That's
All
right.
good roads. Now, I also am not good with geography. The cars didn't have to be boats at any stage, did they?
didn't,
Good.
no.
Okay, I didn't think so, but I just wanted to check.
No, I mean, it's the same question I asked when I saw the topic. I'm like, wait, hang on. That is all land,
They're
right?
different
Yeah.
countries,
Russia.
and our country is an island. Everyone's country should be an island.
Yeah.
Russia connects Asia and Europe. I'm confidently saying, even though again I am.
That seems right from
Terrible.
Matt's I'm
Well,
You're
remembering.
bang on. They go through Russia.
That's huge.
Well, that's how they got there so fast.
Russia.
So this topic was suggested by Denzel Aravalo from Pontypridd, who has described this story as a romp.
Oh, we love a romp.
I love a
nothing
romp.
more than a romp.
But would you agree, is it a delightful romp?
I think it's it's definitely a.
Oh no, it's falling.
It's not delightful, but it's a pretty fun romp.
If I had to guess, I would say that this is probably more, rather than a delightful romp, maybe a chaotic romp.
It's chaotic.
Yeah,
that's
Oh,
right.
yeah.
comedy of errors.
Yeah.
Are we in
Yeah.
for a ride? Is it some sort of rat race?
Yeah, it's a bit of a rat race energy. But normally people who suggest topics will write out a long description. They're the only two words that Denzel gave us. Just a romp. And I put up 3 topics, all different kinds of races: a horse race, a car race, and a plane race.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the one the Patreons selected.
Shout out to the Do Go On Patreons. Car race, probably the most exciting of those 3 races, I would say. Especially when you're looking at 1907.
Yeah,
we
that's
hadn't
true.
figured... 1907 plane race would be...
The plane race was the most deadly option.
Yeah, yeah.
And obviously they didn't want to go that way.
Yeah.
Um,
Neither did the planes.
So I think throughout refer to Beijing as Peking or Beijing, depending on the source or whatever. But it's the same. It's the same place. Apparently it came from. It was one of those words that was. I think it was the Portuguese or someone like that.
Yeah,
had a word that was similar to Peking and evolved into Peking, and then after a while I think in like the 80s or something, China was like, hey, it's Beijing.
Yeah.
And then finally like America and England started calling it Beijing in the 80s and 90s. China might have been talking about it before then. Well, I always think it's such a funny thing where, and we've talked about it on the show before, that people are like, you can call your city whatever you like. We're calling it this.
It's so weird,
Isn't
right?
that strange? Yeah, it feels like it's their city. Let's just call it what they
Ask
call
what
it.
their name is.
I feel like I want to
that's too
call
hard.
Germany Deutschland, but I feel like you seem like a bit of an arsehole, right?
It immediately feels like you're going to follow it up with it. Yeah, I've traveled.
Yeah, I've been to
exactly.
Barcelona.
I've been abroad, studied.
Go to
traveled,
like
really lived. You should
like
try it.
a Pizza Hut restaurant or something, and a margarita for me, please.
A cappuccino.
Sorry, what?
So
Says the 15-year-old behind the counter.
the Peking to Paris race, I'm calling it a race. It sort of started out, wasn't necessarily meant to be a race. They called them raids. There was this French.
Oh my
kind of
God,
thing,
that
which
sounds
was
way
more-
worse.
It was more like the journey. They were just driving
Yeah.
from point A to point B. If you made it, you succeeded. It wasn't like first place, second
Yeah.
place.
So it's more like a challenge.
An
Yeah.
endurance challenge.
That's right. But this one sort of became a race. Some people still think of it more of a raid. Whatever. I'm calling it a race.
Yeah.
So at this point in 1907, cars were only just starting to become popular in Europe. They'd been around for a few decades, but they were only things for the wealthy, really.
Yeah.
And this race was the first time cars made their way across some regions of Asia. So there were places they were going through where people were like, the fuck is that?
Holy shit!
Well, our map ends here, so I assume I'm going to be driving to the void. There's people here.
The race or the course was a distance of around, depending on the source, 14.5 miles 14.5 to 16,000 kilometers, which is around 9 to 10,000 miles.
Originally, because of the way you said it, I thought you weren't going to add the zeros, and I was like, I am really bad at geography if it turns out Paris and Beijing are 14 miles apart.
Many city-to-city motor races had been run over the previous few decades, but circuit racing was growing in popularity at this point. According to Britannica, the first speedway purpose-built for automobile racing was constructed in 1906 at Brooklands near Weybridge in Surrey, England. That was a 4.45 kilometre circuit. Wikipedia, though, slightly contradicts this. I only bring this up for patriotic reasons. Because Wikipedia says that while Brooklands was the first purpose-built banked motor racing venue, Aspendale Racecourse in Melbourne, Australia, a pear-shaped track was close to a mile in length, was the world's first purpose-built motor racing circuit, which opened in January of 1906.
I'm believing
That's so
Wikipedia.
fun. I love that.
We did it. I thought I was bracing myself for you to mention Bathurst or something, like as in like. Turns out the first racetrack was in Bathurst.
Yeah, Mount Panorama. It was like Moses came down from Mount Panorama with it was chipped into like tablets.
Yeah.
The Conrod Strait. The idea for we bring up Bathurst so much on the
That's
show.
come up a lot, doesn't it?
It must baffle a lot of listeners.
Yeah. Well,
It'll baffle them.
Bafflehurst. No.
I reckon, yeah.
it's close enough to something.
Any chance to bring up Brocky or Dick Johnson, I'll do it. I mean, Dick Johnson, come on. One of the
Great
great
name.
names.
Both of
Penis.
Yeah.
The idea for this race seemed to come as a response to these kind of new circuit racetracks. The challenge was laid down in the Paris newspaper, or I should say, Paris.
Yes. You've
There you
traveled,
go.
I see. Spent some time abroad.
Yes.
The newspaper Le Matin, or Le Matin, something like that. I think it means the morning. Dave's been to Paris recently.
Yeah.
I'm looking at him.
I remember it a lot.
But it's spelled Le Matin, so I might say that wrong a few times. Anyway, in in Le Matin on the 31st of January 1907, they wrote, probably in French, but anyway, the translation is, the supreme use of the automobile is that it makes long journeys possible. But all we have done is make it go round in circles.
Also in pairs.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, in Australia we were driving around in pairs.
yeah.
What needs to be proved today is that as long as a man has a car, he can do anything and go anywhere. Is there anyone who will undertake to travel this summer from Peking to Paris by automobile? That was the challenge laid down.
That is a very funny statement to read in the newspaper.
Yeah.
Do you reckon you would have taken things more personally back in the old times? Like, if I read that, I would have been like, he is talking to me, but I'm saying no.
Yeah.
But if someone was to say that in the magazine now, I'd be like, just who cares?
Yeah.
It's like a very powerful speech being like, it almost talking like a car's like an animal, being like, this beast is caged. Are you the man to set it free?
And also, like, claiming that a car can take you anywhere. It's like, all right, well, there's a reason you're going from Beijing to Paris rather than Beijing to LA.
Yeah.
Good luck going the other way. It's not going to happen.
But
Yeah,
no
not
one had done
quite
something
anyway.
like that before, had they?
I don't think in this kind of length. There had been ones across Europe and stuff, but I don't think anything like this. So the race was sponsored by Le Matin, and the winner would receive a relatively modest prize of a magnum of Mum champagne.
Oh.
Okay, I was hoping it was going to be one ice cream.
A Magnum.
Now, am I saying that right? Is it Mum? I've got to.
I've always called her Mum.
We all say mum.
Okay,
I
great.
say mum.
I'm so paranoid. I don't know why. More than anyone, French people corrected me on pronunciation because when I was in France, everything was like, "What do you? That is not how we say it." You know?
Yeah.
But I guess
I had the exact opposite experience in my very short tenure in France where,
You've travelled.
yeah, I traveled.
He's been abroad.
I went to, so I've been to France for one day, and that entire day I spent at Disneyland Paris. I didn't see the
For
Eiffel
the
Tower.
authentic experience.
Oh, yeah. I wanted to make sure I got as French as possible.
So you'd like to see like a European castle built by Americans in Paris.
Yes, that's exactly what I was looking for. So me and I think former guest of Do Go On at some point, Jackson Bailey, one of my co-hosts on Plumbing the Death Star and other podcasts, went to Disneyland, and he would just walk up to people anytime we had to interact with someone. He'd just be like, hello, or I would try and be like, oh, bonjour, etc. And they would just immediately launch into French with me, and I was like, you can clearly tell I'm...
Come on.
Yeah. So every time I had to be like, in English, please.
I'm trying to be polite, but I actually don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, it was good. So yeah, I wish instead they were like.
So have you learned how to say Splash Mountain in French?
No, there was so we had the perfect day in Disneyland.
Mont Blanche.
Oh my God, where were you?
Where were
Would
you?
have been the perfect guide. Yeah, it rained all day prior to us getting there, so there was no one there. We didn't have to talk to anyone really, except for when we're ordering food, and then it was always a disaster.
Le turkey leg.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh my God. Hamburger.
buff. Best word in French.
Yeah.
Boof. Yeah, I love boof. That's where we got beef as well, I think, isn't it? I think they brought it over.
Buff.
Boof. All right, so they get the magnum of champagne. Big race and they have to pay for the privilege of entering as well.
Where's that money going if not to the prize?
Yeah, I'm not sure because you got to anyway.
Yeah, it's getting sponsored. What? Is this laundering?
Yeah, it does
Yeah.
feel a bit like, because you're
scam?
probably paying for your own car as well.
Yeah,
that's right.
You pay for your petrol.
Yeah, you pay for everything.
You pay to enter.
You pay
it also
to
gets
travel
sponsored.
to
Yeah.
Peking.
Where's the funds going to? Oh, tracking them probably.
Yeah.
How-
I don't know.
How was there someone else there that was like, I'm not in the race, I'm just driving alongside you so I could pay attention to who's winning the race?
But I guess there's
No
not
one's
really
cheating? I guess you can't
It
cheat.
doesn't. How do you cheat in that instance? Cars, they don't know they can do that yet.
Well, no, I mean,
You jump on a train.
jump on a train. Yeah.
That almost
Which
feels
could
like
happen a little bit.
foreshadowing.
Yeah, but then you get on the other side and you're like, fuck, I forgot the car. This is going to look really sus when I cross the finish line. You're miming it. Everyone's just like doing the thing with their hands for wheels.
And they all feel too silly to point it out. Emperor's New Clothes style.
This is what cars look like in Paris or Beijing. I can't remember which way we're going.
So there were no set rules, and each team.
Oh, okay. Well, then that's fine.
Each team had to organise oil, fuel, and tyre supplies independently.
Jesus.
According to Jeff Tibbles, writing in his book Motor Racing's Strangest Races, Tibbles is great.
That's a great name.
Sounds like, is it a name of a mouse in a movie or something?
It should be.
Yeah.
Or like Tibble's
If
cat
not, why
food.
not? Yeah.
Yeah.
So Tibbles wrote, although 25 teams would eventually consider taking part, many were scared away by the entry fee of 2,200 francs.
Jesus.
Which I couldn't figure out. I could not figure out on Google how much that meant.
If it's enough to put off wealthy
Hang on,
types.
2,500 francs?
2,200 francs in
2,200
1907. I just couldn't. I don't know why I couldn't figure that out. But so as the day drew nearer, the sheer enormity of the task also put off others. Though I also read that 40 teams had entered and paid the fee. There seems to be a lot of contradictory info on little details about this race.
So just with the francs conversion, I don't know if it's going to be important, but to help the listeners paint a picture, currently 2,200 francs is $2,283.
Right, even though the francs aren't
But
used
that's-
anymore.
Francs are used.
Yeah, what are they like?
Or
Swiss
is that
francs?
Swiss francs?
Oh, wait.
Swiss
Is that-
francs?
Is that
Swiss
C-
francs.
Is that
Damn it.
CHF? Yeah.
Okay, let's have a look. How much was a French franc worth in 1910? Close enough. So,
We're nutting this out for the listeners.
uh,
Uh-oh.
it's
Proving
written in French.
Your Google skills are better than mine.
Over 12 grand. $12,427.42.
Pretty expensive to pay
Yeah.
for the
That's
privilege
so
of.
much money.
Yeah, that's just the rego fee. Then you got to pay for the car. You got to get to Beijing
Yeah.
with your car
Yeah,
and
you
your
gotta pay the
tires
car's
and your
rego.
oil.
Also, something that hasn't been considered by presumably the people entering this race is this drive is going to fuck your car up.
Yeah.
You're going to get to Paris or Beijing, and your car's going to be pretty much totaled. Like, I wouldn't trust myself to drive to, like, I wouldn't drive my car currently from here to, like, North Queensland, because I'm like, I don't know what damage that's going to do.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
And that's with roads
and GPS.
Will
and
it-
GPS.
Will it even make it?
And this is when cars are more popular so that you will have a service station for your car every bit.
Yeah, and my car is like 100 years newer than these cars.
Whoa.
Yeah.
But our cars aren't built to last.
God damn it. There's a lot to consider. I'm going to be
Yeah.
thinking about this all episode. Would I have entered this race?
Yeah, well, I'd love to hear
Yeah.
your answer by the end
Yeah.
of it. So they reckon between 25 and 40 teams wanted to enter. Either way, only 5 teams ended up getting their cars down to the starting line in Beijing in time.
5.
5 cars.
Okay.
5
Whoa,
teams, 5 cars.
started in Beijing to...
They had to get their car to Beijing.
Yeah, that's right.
That means they're doing the drive pretty much twice.
Well, you could ship it out there, or take other transport. But
Are they from Europe mostly, or are they
Yes,
American?
they're all from Europe. Yeah.
So put car on boat. Do you reckon some people were intending to do the race and the boat just didn't show up?
Yeah,
They're like
possible.
at the docks, like, oh, I'm here for my boat. They're like, boat, car on boat. No.
It was originally planned to go the other way.
Yeah.
But the weather meant that they would have got to Beijing in wet season, and that's that half of the race there were a lot less roads, like built roads.
Yeah, that's
so it would have
fair.
been a nightmare. So they ended up switching around the other way.
This already is so like, I mean, I understand that I've got a lot of hindsight is powerful, and starting a giant race after you've just had to ship your car to a place that doesn't usually have cars and therefore won't have roads, and that's where you're starting the race seems like a bad idea.
Yeah. Well,
But I guess you're less tired because it's the start, so maybe it is a good idea doing the hard bit
Yeah,
first.
the hard bit
Yeah.
first. Yeah.
Just you imagine getting to Europe with, I assume, more roads. If you were saying that Beijing just had fewer roads down there.
well, I think Beijing was okay. It was
Oh,
sort of
yeah.
outside of
No, that makes more sense.
Beijing.
Yeah.
The more rural areas,
Yeah, so it was really, the big middle part,
Between
going-
major cities. Yeah, that makes sense.
Going through Mongolia
Yeah.
and Siberia, apparently, is a lot of rough stuff.
I can obviously imagine it, but it just seems so rude to drive through somewhere that doesn't have a road. cars are so destructive. Imagine getting in the car and it's like, okay, so you pretty much go like you're aiming your compass like that way for 30 days.
Yeah. They didn't have roads, but most places had train tracks. So they did a fair bit of driving on train tracks.
Jesus.
Get to in a bit.
Chugga chugga.
So who were the 5 contestants?
I'd love to know.
According to Tibbles, the first one to respond was Count de Dion, a doyen of the French motor industry, who replied in heroic terms, quote, "It is my belief that if a motor car can get through, the Dion Bouton will get through. I take up this challenge here and now." He provided cars. He didn't drive himself. So driving 2 identical...
He didn't drive.
No, he didn't drive.
Very heroic stance for a man
Yeah.
that's just buying 2 cars.
Well,
Also, could you imagine-
they were his cars. So he provided 2-cylinder de Dion Bouton cars. One driven by Georges Cormier. I'm having a real stab at. I'm just saying these like I think a French person might say.
I
and
think you're
Victor
allowed.
Collignon. So they were
Sounds
2 French drivers. Then we had in a 4-cylinder 7.4 liter Itala car
Gee, there's a lot of liters.
was Scipione Borghese. So this guy had the best car, and the most powerful car at least.
Yeah.
I'll give you his full name because it's a bloody beauty. Prince Luigi Marcantonio Francesco Rodolfo Scipione Borghese.
That sounds like you're being so rude.
Borghese is in like the car?
Yeah, is it modern day?
Oh no, what? That's
Bugazzi?
not a
Bugatti?
not
You thinking about
Goddard.
Bugatti,
Bugatti,
not a
yeah.
Bugatti. So Borghese was an Italian aristocrat, industrialist, politician, explorer, and mountain climber from the prominent Italian Borghese family.
Prince Luigi's doing it all.
Yeah. This family, the Borghese family, stretches back centuries. So there's a bunch of notable people from it, including from the 15 and 1600s, Pope Paul V. I don't know if you're familiar with his
Okay,
work.
top 5 balls for me.
Yep. And the lineage stretches all the way to current day with Lorenzo Borghese, who was the titular bachelor on the 9th season of American dating show The Bachelor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so big, powerful family
Oh,
yeah.
through the ages.
Really
They've never
doing it all.
weakened.
Like the modern day Pope, like our Pope,
Yeah.
is the Bachelor.
Is
Yeah.
it,
Season 9.
is Pope the Pope also?
No, the Pope's not.
Oh,
The Pope from back then, way more powerful than current Pope, I reckon.
Oh, I thought you meant the Italian Pope is different to the Australian Pope, and I was like,
I mean, if there was an Australian
What do you
Pope.
reckon, like Andrew Gaze or something?
Yeah.
Oh, Gazy.
Pope Gaze the first. Oh no, he'd be Pope Gaze the second because
Of course,
his
Lindsay.
dad Lindsay would have
The first.
done the first stint, no doubt. Maybe the most interesting entrant in the race was Dutchman Charles Goddard. A former jockey and stunt motorcyclist.
Oh,
He was a smooth-talking type who found himself without a car when his original manufacturer pulled their car from the race. So he had a car set up. He was ready to head down, and then they're like, "No, we're not going to let you have a car."
if he,
like,
if he enters on a horse, I'll be so stoked.
oh my God.
Well, I like the idea that he's a smooth talker. As he's talking his way into a car for sure.
You are correct.
Yes.
Undeterred, he travelled to Amsterdam to speak to Jacobus Spiker, the head of Spiker Cars, convincing him to provide one of his 4-cylinder automobiles and filled it up with spare parts, spare tyres and all that sort of stuff.
Oh,
He also convinced him to pay the entry fee, which Goddard promised he would pay back, though seemingly he never had any intention of doing that. Goddard, as it turned out, was a bit of a grifter. He promptly sold all the spare parts and used that money for his ticket to Beijing. So he didn't even have a way of getting there at this point.
okay.
God.
So I thought that he got to Beijing, realized he didn't have a car, then went back to Amsterdam, then went back to Beijing with a car.
No, he was still in Europe, went to Amsterdam, and then but he got a car before having a way of getting to the start line. But luckily he was able to. But the Spiker, the guy whose car it was,
Yeah.
he's like, obviously you'll need all this stuff for this hectic
like-
journey. Obviously, no
Yeah.
worries. I'll give you all the spares you need.
Yeah.
And he's just
Because
sitting
you
there
won't
being
make
like,
it without him.
I'm clever. I figured out a loophole.
He's my favorite of the entrants so far. And I didn't think anyone was going to pip Prince Luigi, but Goddard, the smooth talker.
According to Andrew Frankel, writing for Motorsport magazine, Goddard arrived in China on the 16th of May with the Spiker, but otherwise he was penniless. While the other competitors had spent considerable time and money organising the necessary en route infrastructure, and in particular the crucial petrol dumps, so they'd all figured out, along the way how they're going to get petrol. He didn't have any money for that, let alone time to plan any of it. So he had no cash until he managed to prize 5,000 francs from the Dutch consular official in Peking, promising that non-existent letters of credit would soon arrive to meet the expense. This provided enough fuel for perhaps 1/5 of the 10,000-mile journey. The rest he would have to beg, borrow, or if needed, spirit away from the other competitors. So he was just winging it.
He was just hoping he'll come across a hose and he'll have enough breath left in him. If the moment comes down to it.
Goddard is maybe my hero from this point on.
Jeez.
Like at any point, he could have turned around and been like, I won't do the race then. Got the car, and he sold all the spare parts, so could have
Could've
just
gone home.
sold the car.
Yeah.
Take the money, leave.
What's he going to do? Follow him back to wherever he lives?
Was it? Yeah, I wonder what his plan was here.
I don't think he had
we'll,
one.
We'll find out after he wins this race.
Yeah.
I think he just loved the adrenaline rush.
I guess stealing is also an adrenaling rush.
He
So
loves to grift.
yeah.
He was born to grift.
Feeling one step ahead of anyone you've dealt with must feel great.
Being able to, so he hustles a car, uses that car to then hustle a ticket to Beijing, then in Beijing hustles 5,000 francs. That's huge.
That's massive.
He's a genius.
He's winning the hustle race.
Yeah, he's
at the very least.
He's coming first already before the race has started.
So that's the first 4 competitors. Finally, the 5th competitor was another Frenchman, Auguste Pons,
Great name.
in a 1-cylinder 3-wheel Contour.
Not a car.
No. Is he in the Mr. Bean's enemy's car?
Oh, he wishes.
Is it, one wheel in back or one wheel in front?
1 wheel in back. So it's
Like a rudder.
Yeah, it's kind of, it looks more like and it is basically a primitive motorbike.
Yeah.
The good news is you only have to replace 3 tires.
That's
if,
true.
if
That's
you
a
lose one.
tricycle.
The
He's
good
already
news is
saving.
that I don't think he probably needed to worry about that because I really, really struggling to think how a 1-cylinder 3-wheel car is going to fare at any point in this race.
Yeah, does it start?
It does start.
All right. That surprised me.
It probably also stops, I imagine.
Ooh.
You're not confident, but he was. Prior to the race, Pons insisted that, quote, a flyweight 3-wheeler was indeed the very car to take on a 6,000-mile journey across 2 continents. I love how everyone's got wildly different ideas of how far
I was
it
going to
is.
say, you said 10,000 before.
Yeah.
But if you only got 3 wheels, you don't have to travel as far.
Yeah.
So I'll post photos on our social media, but yeah, it really just looks like, so there's sort of, it almost looks like there's a big seat in the front and a motorbike at the back. So it's sort of a 2-seater.
Is he inside a vehicle? Like, has he
No,
got...
it's not enclosed.
He's open.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I'm kind of imagining it looks like a very old plane, but with no wings.
Yeah. I should pull up a photo.
I've come around on this guy.
I love it. Just go for it. Pons.
Maybe he wins, and that's where Ponzi scheme comes from, even though it's not related.
Ponzi, fun fact, first Ponzi scheme was done by a woman. It wasn't Ponzi.
Whoa.
It was a woman who lived in the same town.
So
Women can do anything. Women can be scam artists too.
So there's some photos of it there.
That is absolutely a bike.
Bike!
oh my God.
That looks more like one of those lie-down bikes that people have to do the big flags on so they don't get hit by a car.
Yeah, it's that mixed with like a rickshaw-y type sort of sort of vehicle.
It seems like a people mover, but like to the next town.
Yeah, not to the next continent.
No.
According to Tibbles, it was a vehicle so small that it had no room for serious rations or bedding, something of a handicap when planning to spend the next 3 months travelling across the wilds of Mongolia and Siberia. The drivers didn't race alone, driving it with at least one other person in the vehicle, either a journalist, mechanic, or both.
As in, like, there's 3, or you're a journalist / mechanic?
No, one of them
That's highly
has
qualified.
both. But yeah. The race was set out along a telegraph line, meaning journalists were able to publish stories back in Europe as they went. I'd love to know how telegraph poles work. What do you just go beep, 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 beep? You Morse coding it or what? Or you can plug in your phone to each pole? Or is it, it's like email. You just,
I don't know.
Telegraph or telegram?
Oh, I've written telegraph, but that's possibly wrong.
Yeah.
Telegraph's also the Morse codey type thing, isn't it?
Telegraph is...
You got someone on the other end sort of translating what you're saying?
Beep, 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 beep. The three-wheeler is battling.
Yeah.
It's Morse code. It's Morse code.
Oh, okay, great. Oh, fun.
So you're there for about 3 hours dictating your story.
Yeah, just...
Going, hang on, no, made a mistake, hang on. Backspace.
So
the first message was probably just race going bad.
Yeah. Send help. We dying.
So Goddard and Cormier travelled with journalists. Collignon and Pons drove with mechanics, while Borghese had both a journalist and a mechanic.
Of course he did.
Yeah.
It seems like Borghese's mechanic, Ettore Guizzardi, also was his chauffeur doing most of the driving.
Okay.
So when I read that, I'm like, oh man, this guy's in a race, but he's just kicking back.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, the more
Seeing
you
the
say about
sights.
Prince Luigi, the more I'm like, how much is he a mountain climber? Or did he ride on a Sherpa?
Yeah, that's right. He was chauffeured up a mountain
Yeah.
by another human being.
But while he did have the most powerful car and a driver, it was hardly a luxurious trip for Borghese. His car was open-topped and they drove through all sorts of conditions. So quickly recapping, we have the Italian Prince Borghese in an Itala, the most powerful car in the race.
Yep.
Which is a 40 horsepower four-cylinder. He was accompanied by journalists Luigi Bazzini and mechanic Ettore Guizzardi.
So there's 2 Luigis in that car.
Hang on, have I said too many? Oh, you're right, yeah. I mean, he has every name, though, so
Yeah.
I don't think of him
Not
as a
a
Luigi,
fair.
but yeah, that's true. He is also a Luigi.
2 Luigis, one
Prince
car.
Luigi and not a Prince Luigi.
Then we have the 15 horsepower four-cylinder Dutch Spiker, driven by the jockey and stunt motorcyclist Charles Goddard.
That's that grifter.
That's the grifter. And he was in there with Jean Dutally, one of Le Matter's chief journalists. So one of the journalists of the sponsoring newspaper.
The journalist that got in that journalist is like, this is going to be the best story easily.
Yeah.
Like, he would have just heard like how the race started and been like, oh, I'm with you for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Shotgun.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We could starve to death out there, but it'll be worth the story.
Then we had the 2 10 horsepower two-cylinder De Dion Bouton French cars driven by George Cormier with Edgardo Longini as passenger and the other one with Victor Collignon and Jean Bizac as a mechanic. And finally, the 6 horsepower one-cylinder cycle car Contour driven by Auguste Ponce with Oscar Foucault as mechanic.
Every description of this triggers my brain to just think of wacky races.
Oh, yes, loved it.
Like, it just feels like a wacky races race. Sure, Dick Dastardly's not there too. Motley.
According to Tibbles, from Peking, the route was to take them northwest to Mongolia and Siberia, across the barren Gobi Desert, over the uncharted plains of Siberia and eastern Russia to Moscow, and then via more recognizable roads to Warsaw, Berlin, and Paris. Even getting to Peking in the first place was an ordeal, Borghese being obliged to cross Asia on a horse, camel, and foot. So like you were saying before, knackered by the time you get there.
And he travelled on a foot.
Yeah, on a foot.
Incredible.
That big Monty Python foot.
They're rare these days.
Yeah. The race hit trouble before it even began. The Chinese government was skeptical of the race. They thought it was a ruse to suss out local terrain to plan a future invasion.
That's,
Fair
to
enough.
be honest, fair enough.
Yeah, fair enough.
So because of this, the Chinese authorities confiscated the contestants' passports.
But not the cars.
Not the cars.
So that you can leave.
Yeah, it was sort of strange. So I read somewhere that they were like, we want you to get these cars out of here as quick as possible.
And they were
we
like,
don't want you
same.
and your cars here.
Yeah, we got some
Absolutely
great
same.
news for you because
Yeah.
we're going to try and leave as quick as possible.
Because they were undeterred by losing their passports and they all decided to race anyway. Tibbles continues. Given the unpredictable nature of the route through China, the quintet of drivers agreed to stay in convoy until they reached Irkutsk in Russia, after which the race could begin in earnest. It was an admirable notion, but one which foundered almost immediately when barely a quarter of a mile out of Peking, Collignon and Pons both succeeded in getting lost.
A quarter of a mile?
Quarter of a mile.
Oh my God. They live their life a quarter of a mile at a time and they get lost after that.
That's like, you could almost see a quarter of a mile.
Yeah, you can see a quarter of a mile. That is a visual distance. How?
Bad directions.
Yeah.
You got to understand, in 1907, very stupid.
All right.
Tibbles goes on, Goddard fared little better. Unable to read a map, he had only the vaguest idea of geography. His spiker was decorated in vertical stripes of red, white and blue, and along the body were painted the words Siberia, Russia, Germany. This was supposedly to inform passers-by of the route, but there was also the suggestion that it served to remind Goddard which way to go. The hopelessly inadequate three-wheeler Contour was struggling so badly on the uneven Chinese roads that Pons decided to retrace his steps and complete the first leg by train.
What? How are you allowed?
Well, I don't think it was.
There's no rules, remember?
They were very specific about how there were no rules for the car race.
The other four pressed on, but took 7 days to cover the initial 200 miles, or 322 kilometres. So very slow going.
You can almost outwalk them.
Yeah.
That seems really slow, right?
Yeah. I guess they're getting lost and then getting back on track and getting lost. And
Oh.
Well, what was the top
accidental
speed of a
detours.
car back then, though? Because like 40 horsepower was the most powerful one, right?
yeah, I think I read that most powerful one could go up to like 96 k's per hour.
Oh, okay. So that's still pretty. I mean, that's fast.
Yeah, but I guess you have to have a good flat road
Yeah.
to be able to do that on.
But even then, like if they're driving at like 50 kilometers an hour,
Yeah,
that's
it's a lot quicker than walking.
walking. You'd think, but the statistics you've given us.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
50 kilometers an hour, and they were covering, what, under 400 a day in 7 days?
Yeah,
So that should have been a day.
right.
That should have been a day.
It took them a week. So 3 months.
They set out to prove that with a car they could go anywhere, but really they just proved that
You can
without
just
a
go
car
anywhere.
they could go anywhere. As a result of the rough condition on road surfaces, the cars were not able to run unaided until the Mongolian plateau had been reached. So there were rough roads and they needed to have their cars dragged by mules over ancient bridges,
Oh my
through
God.
gorges and over mountains heading towards the Great Wall.
The local people just like, what the hell?
Yeah.
This is the future?
A car being dragged by a mule is the funniest thing I think
Up
I've
a
ever.
mountain. A car being dragged by a mule up a mountain. That's so annoying to anyone who lives there. Like, I must abscond your mule. What?
to prove that cars can go anywhere.
Cars can go anywhere.
They don't have to work
dragged.
anywhere. There were technically no rules.
According to Marina Manoukian, writing for Grunge, throughout the 1907 Beijing to Paris race, local people and their animals ended up being frequently enlisted to help push or tow the cars along the driver's journey. They found boulders and stones often blocking them, meaning they had to use a pickaxe to smash a path. When the cars were working their way through the Gobi Desert, so they slowly but surely were making their way. The Gobi Desert proved to be even trickier.
Yeah.
Oh, you reckon?
Yeah.
That's shocking.
How do old cars go on sand?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about the sand.
Especially with the little narrow
Thin
wheels.
wheels,
they
Yeah.
yeah.
Pons in his three-wheeler Contour had gotten lost again, falling
On a
well,
train.
well behind the others.
His car is literally a point.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's the other way, isn't it? There's a wheel at the back.
Yeah,
isn't
one
it?
wheel at the
Oh,
back, two
never
at the
mind
front.
then.
Points at the back. Yeah, you're thinking just like driving into the sand.
Oh, I was thinking more like it is a point. How do you stray from your course?
Right.
You just follow a compass, right?
Yeah.
That's all right. That's all right.
And
How do you fare in there?
they're also meant to be following
Each other.
the
telegraph
poles. I don't fully get it. I guess there's some areas they can't ride right next to them, so they have to detour off and then lose
Yeah.
them.
I'm thinking that every single time they get back together and they're all on the same path, someone's like, I know a shortcut, immediately gets lost. And then it's just like everyone scatters for a bit. makes no distance, then comes back together. The same thing just keeps happening for 7 days.
I think there was a bit of that. Yeah, so Pons got lost again. He fell well behind the others and was massively underprepared for the journey anyway. It was relying on the help of the other 4 teams. To this point, the other drivers, in particular Goddard, had helped Pons out with fuel and carrying his supplies. It's amazing seeing as Goddard didn't have enough fuel himself. But Goddard carried a lot of his supplies in his car. Apparently Goddard, even though he was a grifter, had a real collegiate sort of teamwork vibe about him.
He grifted. He forged a sense of community.
Yeah, that's
Well, I guess that's a key part of being a grifter, being a trustworthy guy, being like, Goddard wouldn't fuck me. He gave me some fuel.
Yeah.
True.
Goddard would fuck you.
Goddard has fucked you.
If you're wondering if Goddard's fucked you, he's fucked you.
It's too late.
Yeah.
So there in the Gobi Desert, the 3-wheeler Contol run out of fuel and supplies. Too far behind the other teams. Apparently Goddard had been, making sure the 3-wheeler was still going okay.
Yeah.
But then the 2 French guys in the
2 Luigis.
in the identical cars, they said no, he's fine.
Yeah.
Apparently, so he moved
Goddard
on.
was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And Pons in the 3-wheeler was stranded in the desert without fuel, and he had no food or anything.
I am wondering if this is where the first count of death comes in.
Well, let's see. So to survive,
Okay, that's a good start.
All right, to survive.
they had to drink water out of the radiator.
Oh.
Oh,
Well, just be glad that radiator fuel hadn't been invented then. Or radiator
Coolant.
Coolant, yeah.
According to Manukian, they walked 20 miles out from their vehicle and 20 miles back, finding no water, food, or people. Pons later tried to dig his car out, believing he could still somehow make it to Paris. It was in trying to
Just
dig.
drained the radiator.
It was in trying to dig and push out the car that the 2 of them collapsed. It was only by sheer stroke of luck that a group of nomadic people passed by before the end of the day. Upon coming across the 2 unconscious men, they took them back to their camp and nursed them back to health.
oh,
The Contol was left in the desert where it's believed to still remain.
Whoa!
Let's find it.
Do go on Patreons. I'll meet you there. Let's go. We're doing the Gobi Desert. We're finding this car.
yeah, we're digging it out. I reckon it can still get to Paris. All we need
just needs-
is coolant.
Yeah.
Coolant, and we've got Google Maps now. We'll be fine.
Exactly.
So they survived.
Hey,
But
that's-
they're out of the race.
But only because they were saved.
by pure luck. They would never
amazing.
have woken up, but sounds like otherwise.
Oh yeah, this is sounding pretty.
Oh.
You would have found their skeletons.
Well, or
Yeah.
maybe not, because if the car's still
Yeah,
out there,
that's
no
true.
one found their skeletons. I guess the report would be different then. It was just like, and then, yeah, the Ponzi car fell behind, and then no one knows. No one knows what happened.
Yeah. Yeah, they could still be out there.
Yeah, they could be racing still.
Well, that journalist has got a sweet article to write, though.
That's true. Well, yeah, that's the other thing. If we wouldn't have known any of that stuff if they weren't found.
Yeah.
Luckily, the story was able to be told. Back to Tibbles. The abysmal lack of preparation by the Contol team was in stark contrast to Borghese's crew. In advance, they had sent camel caravans out into the desert to lay down supplies of fuel, tyres, and provisions at strategic points.
That's huge. That's like the first pit stops.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
they did it.
The extra power of the Atala gave it a considerable advantage in terms of speed, but its weight proved a handicap when crossing Mongolian marshland. At one point, the car suddenly sank in a bog, and they would have been in big trouble, but by a stroke of good fortune, a team of Mongolian horsemen appeared on the scene. There's so much luck involved in this story.
Oh gosh.
They wedged planks under the wheels and got their oxen to pull, but this had no effect until someone had the bright idea of starting the engine.
Oh my god.
Borghese's journalist Barzini recalled, at the sudden noise, the 4 terrified beasts pulled desperately.
Oh.
And suddenly the car came out of its furrow with one bound. So yeah, it wasn't even just the engine; it was the noise.
Yeah, it
that
was
made-
scaring the ox.
Literal
Yeah.
horsepower.
Before that, the ox were like, I can't be fucked.
Holy shit!
What was that?
Run, fellas, let's get out of here.
Let's just make it look like we're pulling. Let's leave
Activate
these.
the adrenaline in the ox.
After this, Borghese's crew carefully checked any sus terrain before driving over it. Learning.
Yeah,
All right.
that's one thing that pretty much every other racer in this race has lacked.
Yep.
Learning and common sense.
That's right. Yeah, totally. When they reached the River Iro, which I couldn't find it in Google Maps or anything. There's a few places I'm like, they must have changed their names in the last 100 years.
Right.
They again needed the help of oxen to drag the car through the waist-high water. I think there's photos of this as well, of oxen dragging Borghese's open-top car through the river.
So
and it's
it was.
waist high with an open top.
Yeah.
Oh my lord.
So it wasn't even floating.
Nah.
I'm so glad
no, I
they
don't
figured
think
out
so.
cars. Cars were done.
Now that they
Waterproof.
float,
Yeah.
it's so much better. When Borghese reached the Russian border, they were a day ahead of the rest of the field. So there was this agreement that they'd all stick together, but for whatever reason, Borghese had just lost them in my rearview mirror. He recalled later that our faces are literally black with dust and over our clothes a thick crust of the different kinds of mud with which we had come in intimate contact all along the way. So they were the open top. They were wearing, when your car is driven through a river and through a dusty area and it's just caked in mud.
Yeah.
That
That's
was
just them.
Borghese. Back in the Gobi Desert, the Dutchman Goddard and his journalist companion Jean d'Italie had their own troubles.
Oh, no.
Also
Goddard, I
getting
believed
stranded
you.
without fuel, which was surprising seeing as they did not have enough fuel.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm surprised it took that long.
Yeah.
And especially because they were giving fuel to the Ponzi team.
Ponzi.
Are they more than a fifth of the way in?
Yeah, the Gobi, I would say so. So they've done pretty
That's
well.
actually really impressive.
I think they've been...
They've grifted
Getting a bit
fuel
of help.
out of thin air.
Exactly.
Maybe every time they were giving Ponzi fuel, they would steal siphoning it.
Goddard had tried to uphold his end of the bargain of driving in a convoy until Russia, and for the most part had been sticking with Cormier and Collignon in the de Dion cars. He had also done his best to keep Pons and his three-wheeler going until they lost contact. As Cormier and Collignon drove on from the stranded Goddard, they promised to send fuel back from Oud, the next town along, which was 120 miles away. They gave him a little bit of fuel to keep him going for a little bit, but they're like, you'll run out soon, but from the next town, we'll send a few camels back with fuel. According to Frankel, Goddard and Dutali had 2 liters of water, a few blocks of concentrated soup, which could not be heated without petrol to start the stove, a cold, maggot-infested and stinking chicken. I don't know why they kept that. And some chocolate, liquid and similarly inedible in the 47-degree Celsius heat. So it's fucking hot.
Why do they need to reheat the soup then?
Yeah, surely just leave it out in the sun.
Yeah.
But it's blocks of concentrated soup.
Oh,
Yeah.
so you dissolve a bit in hot water.
water,
Okay,
yeah.
that would make sense as to why you
And
can't
you've only got
drink
2 liters
Blocks
of
of
water.
concentrated soup makes me feel like that's a fancy way of just calling it like chicken stock. I reckon that's probably what it's going to end up
Yeah.
being.
Just did a quick, so that's for the Fahrenheit people out there. That's 116 degrees.
Yeah.
Pretty hot.
Pretty hot.
The fuel, though ordered, never arrived. They sat for 2 days in the desert. They had drunk all the water in the radiator.
No.
And Jean d'Italie had become too weak with both dysentery and malaria to move.
Jesus.
Oh, dear.
One of those is too much.
Yeah, so that's his journalist. He's just become a liability, basically.
Goddard, however, probably keeping his head high.
Oh, yeah, he's fine.
He's just looking for the next grift.
Goddard realized that if they were to survive, he would have to leave his friend and walk off into the desert to find help. He came back within 2 hours, leading an army of locals.
Yes, Goddard.
Yeah, of course he did. He can't even speak their language and he's smooth talking.
Yeah. Being a charismatic, smooth-talking type, Goddard talked them into riding into Oud to bring back fuel. Once refueled, he drove 23 hours non-stop to catch the two Didions, who were 385 miles away. He just went on a hectic drive.
Well,
That's
is the journalist
spite.
still like shitting himself in the back seat?
Put him in the boot. Give him a bucket.
Goddard's still in this race.
Yeah, he's flying.
He's fine.
This is a romp. I'm having a romp.
Back to the Prince, Borghese.
It's just quickly with Goddard. It's crazy they both almost died, and then immediately after that, he goes into a town, convinces everyone to come back and help, then drives for 23 hours without stopping.
Yeah, if you
It wasn't even a town. Remember when Pons couldn't find anyone walking 20 miles, but Goddard just somehow stumbled upon a group of people out in the middle of nowhere.
You know how, like, the further you go back in time, it still happens a bit now, but the further you go back in time, when people have excessive privilege and wealth, the general belief is that it's because God picked them.
Right. They must be feeling.
Because, like, yeah, like how do you get out of this race and be like, well, thank God I'm God's favorite. Like, thank God I got all this nice stuff in the world. That's so lucky.
Yeah, you must.
That's crazy.
Yeah, of course.
How does it happen that many times in a row?
Every single race car in this race has had some kind of like insane good luck. Even like at this point, even though like one of the drivers almost died, but then like pulled out of the race and the car was lost forever or whatever. The luck of being found whilst unconscious is already crazy.
And people giving a shit.
Yeah.
You know, not just going, oh, they're dead. They're strangers. You know.
Like to go up and check 1907, see a body in the desert.
Not my business.
Maybe you just assume they're dead because, like, I don't know, you got stuff to do.
You're busy. You're a nomad. You're moving.
That's crazy. Yeah, all of these people have been so lucky.
And it's all because of locals through the different areas they pass through have lent them their animals and their help or their, you know, just food and amazing.
It's good stuff. Except Goddard, he earned everything he did. He worked hard for it.
He got everything he deserved.
Gift of the silver tongue, baby.
What a guy.
He had a vision board.
Yeah.
And it had all those things on it.
Yeah, one of them is not dying in the desert.
So let's go back to Prince Borghese.
Yeah,
So
check back
he's
in.
well ahead.
Yeah, he's a day ahead when we left him.
And yeah, he's only pulling away.
Yeah.
So he has a commanding lead. According to Tibbles, the 6,000-mile journey across Siberia and Russia was distinctly uncomfortable for Borghese and his men, traveling in an open car in what was often torrential rain. To make matters worse,
Just get a roof, mate.
You're a prince. I think there's some photos with like a tarp over the top, but really, I don't think that's doing the job.
Absolutely not.
So funny because like cars had like the other cars have roofs, don't they?
I
thought 2 or 4 had roofs.
yeah, I think maybe they did.
Half of the car.
It's just like so
50%
the
success
3-wheel
rate.
drive didn't.
No, that
and
definitely
the Borghese car doesn't have one. But then like if you're thinking I'm traveling for 3 months, surely like having my head protected, probably smart.
That's not how cars were back then. You wouldn't even think of it. You're lucky. God picked you.
And what he's wearing this, you know, those old pointy style safari hats.
Oh, yeah.
The prince is wearing that the whole way around as well.
Right.
He's like, that'll protect me from the torrential
Yeah, that's for
Siberian rain.
outside.
It'll keep the sun off your head, that's for sure.
Back to Tibbles. To make matters worse, following the construction of the Trans-Siberian Railway, much of the Siberian highway system was in a state of chronic disrepair, deteriorating into a series of bumpy tracks and treacherous bogs. At Lake Baikal...
I've done a few of those in my time.
treacherous bogs. At Lake Baikal, the road and bridges were impassable, so Borghese obtained permission to drive on the railway track. When forced to make a hasty detour by road because of an approaching train, the Atala fell foul of a rickety wooden bridge which collapsed under the car's weight, almost crushing Borghese and his 2-man crew.
But it can hold a train, but it can't hold a car?
No, he had to detour off and go on this little rickety...
And what was the outcome?
The car fell and
Everyone was fine.
everyone was basically fine.
Yeah, there we go.
And the car could still go?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. That checks
Amazing.
out.
They lifted it back up, dragged it
They
back up.
lifted the... Okay.
How did they lift the car off a broken bridge?
Probably with a a
Mule.
local mule.
Yeah,
Mules,
a team of
oxes.
locals.
Nomads they found.
No, it was actually winched to safety from the ravine by a gang of Siberian railway workers.
Oh, shush.
Oh, I've always depended on the kindness of strangers.
And returned back to the railway track, only to endure another near miss seconds later when surprised by a freight train.
That's like they're railway workers. They're like, oh yeah, we'll put
chuck
you
it
back
back
on the
here."
tracks.
Yeah, good luck. Oh shit!
Duck.
They forgot about it.
Later, when they were passing through the Ural Mountains, one of their wheels collapsed. The wooden spokes having been weakened by all the muddy roads and river crossings. Luckily, they found a local wagon builder, the only one for hundreds of miles, who
Yeah.
was able to make a replacement. Just otherwise, they would have been fucked. But they
It
just
was
happened
fine,
to
yeah.
it happened near the only guy anywhere around who could fix the problem.
Incredible.
Also, wooden spokes for this journey. Also bold move.
Yeah,
The only move, it
Well-
sounds like.
yeah. All moves are bold here. So by now, though, they are weeks ahead of the rest of the field.
Oof.
They're flying. But let's go back and find out why the other, apart from having a more powerful car, the other racers, especially our man Goddard, hit trouble again.
Oh no! Come on, Goddard.
Remember
It's
that
just so we can get back up again.
he did that long drive,
Yeah,
23-hour drive,
23
caught
hours.
up with
Yeah.
him. Well, soon after he did, his car started struggling again. The rear axle was hit by a stone and had an oil leak. And sort of thinking on his feet, he repaired it by stuffing raw bacon into the hole.
Well,
Greasy.
it would have become cooked bacon pretty quickly.
is
That's
a
clever.
genius. Yeah, tactical genius.
He stuffed the bacon in the hole and ate that maggot-infested chicken. He could have desperately used some of the spare parts that he had sold back in Europe.
Yeah.
It's fair to say.
But then he wouldn't have been
He
there.
wouldn't have even made it to the
Yeah.
start.
And to
so-
be honest, I'd be thinking, I wish I wasn't here. That would be great.
Well, now the journalist's going with the dysentery and
there's not
malaria.
much more mentioned about it. It's just like,
yeah, probably got better or died, and we don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Well,
He
we're
got
hearing
over
about
it,
it, which means journalism happened.
Oh, that's true. Actually,
exactly.
you're clever.
I am.
So by now they were struggling through the harsh Russian terrain,
Yep.
in part with the help of horses. I think partly wild horses, which I don't know what that means.
Oh my God.
Semi-wild horses.
He was able to grift a horse.
He charmed a horse.
Wild horse.
Smooth talking a horse.
Yeah. You're there. Come on.
And the
pull
horse
my
like,
car. My God. The most attractive human I've ever seen.
But eventually his car conked out once more and he was stranded yet again. But he was still there with the De Dion cars. And according to Frankel, the Dions carried on while Goddard telegraphed Spiker to request a mechanic be sent across Siberia with all the necessary spares. I don't know how he's already gone through all those spares. Too long of a story, don't ask any
Yeah.
questions.
Spike, you fucked me. The spares, they didn't last. I need more spares.
yeah, I am now your problem
I'll sit
again.
here for 4 weeks waiting for someone to arrive.
Was the plan to catch up? Was he like, I did 23, I can do 46?
Yeah. That was his hope. But, each time he had to do it, it was a little more unrealistic.
little more.
Yeah.
The car was a little more fucked.
Yeah. I've stuffed bacon in. What else am I going to do? Spiker dispatched a 20-year-old office boy, Bruno Steffen.
Shouts to Bruno Staffen.
This is the mechanic he sent out, an
Yep.
office boy.
Yeah.
You there, office boy.
Well, we can't send
You're
any
going to
mechanics
Siberia.
out.
Yeah.
So he sent him but he had mechanical knowledge.
Yep.
He sent him from Amsterdam with the equipment while Goddard put the inert Spiker on a train and travelled west to meet him, dropping off Dutally, the journalist, who's shitting himself, en route to be collected by the De Dions. As Dutally was a journalist from La Matta, the sponsor of the race, his editor wanted him to stay with the bulk of the convoy.
Oh my God. This poor man.
So he would have been happy to stick with.
I'd like to go home to my family after the dysentery and malaria. No.
Yeah, we'll put you in another car, though, I reckon.
Yeah. Go with the winners.
The De Dion team, shocked that Goddard would cheat so blatantly as to put his Spiker on a train, telegraphed the officers of Le Matter to demand Goddard's disqualification.
Whoa.
There's no rules here, baby.
Yeah, there's no real rules, and cheating, however, according to Frankel, couldn't have been further from our man Goddard's mind.
Oh, nothing he does counts as cheating because he gets away with it.
Yeah.
That's right. Well,
I don't think he's ever been accused of cheating in his life.
like, what are you talking? How dare you?
How dare you?
But he really wasn't trying to cheat in this instance. Because he was on the train, he got the ignition repaired, but he wasn't able to wait for Stefan, who'd become delayed by bureaucracy in Moscow. So he's like, I can't wait any longer. So he climbed back on the train, heading east 1,500 miles back to the same place where the spiker had conked out. So he didn't get any advantage. He took the car got the ignition fixed, came back, took ages.
And then started from that spot.
So it was the 25th of July, 19 days after the de Dion's had left the same spot, and the same day that 4,000 miles away in Moscow, Stefan finally boarded the Trans-Siberian Express. So he's back in the same place where he conked out. He hasn't got any advantage.
No.
Okay.
But he is now 19 days behind.
Yeah, 19 days behind, but his car turns on.
Those
now.
twins. Those dastardly twins.
He keeps trusting them and they keep fucking him every time.
So he's now wanting to catch up with Stefan, and it took him 5 days of driving solo in 20-hour stints with 4-hour sleep breaks for him to catch up with Stefan. Stefan serviced the spiker, fitted the new gear ratios, better suited to the terrain.
Yep.
But Stefan was unable to drive. I think maybe because he was 20. He jumped in the passenger seat. So now that he's got a
Okay, so
he's
he got a
someone
buddy.
to keep
He's got a
him
co-pilot again.
So he caught up to someone that was previously 5,000 miles away in 5 days.
Yeah, 4,000 miles away.
In 5 days.
Oh, he also jumped on a train. But that's still insane.
Yeah.
And how do they know where to meet each other?
I know, yeah.
Even with phones, sometimes it gets confusing where to meet someone.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm near the McDonald's and the 7-Eleven.
Which side? Yeah.
I'm on the corner of the street. Which way are you facing? Why would I know? It's a square.
Towards a grey building.
Where our boy Goddard is just like, yeah, I'll just drive 5 days, 20 hours a day.
Meet
in this
you there.
direction, meet you there.
Meet you in the middle.
Yeah,
All right.
sort you out.
But he's still way behind
Yeah.
the twins.
So they're 19 days ahead. Oh, no, now they're 24 days ahead.
Well, yeah, because he's also had to stop he had the car service, but he's not stopping for ages. He's not dropping into 5-star hotels or anything like that.
No silly business.
Fuel stops aside, it would be 29 hours before the spiker stopped again. Goddard was drawing on every scrap of his mental and physical resources to close the gap to the de Dion's, and nothing could stop him. A broken spring was patched up with wooden blocks. At another point, a newborn baby flung from a riderless wagon was collected and delivered to a local priest.
I'm not stopping for nothing. All right, maybe a baby.
Flung from a wagon.
I'm just glad he didn't use the baby to plug a hole. That's what I thought that was.
This is still according to Frankel.
So he saved a baby's life.
Yeah, saved a baby's life on the way.
I'm so glad I got on Goddard at the start of this without knowing anything about him.
What a guy.
This is
I think we could all afford to be a bit more Goddard.
yeah.
Frankel continues, Goddard drove ceaselessly day and night and day, and when the headlamps gave out, Goddard made Stefan walk out in front of the spiker at night with a white towel tied to his back.
But he could
So you're only traveling at walking pace.
Yeah,
then?
just
Traveling
following,
at walking
following
pace.
the boy.
following a boy
The office
who,
boy.
The office boy.
So
He's like,
the boy can see nothing ahead of him.
No,
Well,
So the
I mean,
but if the boy runs into a wall, you stop.
he's doing it a lot slower, I guess, yeah.
yeah, so it's just like hands out in front of him, being like, I hope I don't hit a rock or a car can, avoid a bug that's gonna bite you.
True.
yeah, we didn't think about Stefan getting bitten by bugs whilst being the torch.
Well, the last boy got malaria.
That's true. The last boy did get malaria and dysentery.
But he got that while he was riding in the car, so maybe
Yeah.
this is safer.
In this story, Cass,
You can only assume that passenger seat was absolutely full of muck. So
Oh my God,
maybe best
cursed.
spot to be out the front. It's amazing they still had a towel that was white.
With that much dysentery and malaria, yeah, it's shocking that the car is just not making everyone sick, just solely from covered in shit.
Do you reckon perhaps Goddard is some sort of
Maniac?
leech? No, like maybe he sucks luck out of other people.
Right.
He sucks luck out of people, makes it his own.
Yeah.
Well,
Like he feeds on other people's good fortune.
I love him, and if that ends up being true,
Does the boy die? Does the boy die?
no, but
uh-oh.
by the end of this marathon, this long, ceaseless day-night drive, Stefan was so sick with utter exhaustion and dysentery that Goddard telegraphed Spiker and told him he did not expect him to make the end of the race. Just letting you know, the boy, you might need to get another office boy.
So it wasn't even come get him. It was like, oh, he's gone.
He's done.
He's on the way
He's
out.
still
I
walking
reckon.
out the front, but
He's got to stop feeding his companions that rotting chicken.
It's so funny. Like, is Goddard okay, or does he also have dysentery at this point?
yeah, he must. What is dysentery? Is it a contagious kind of thing?
Yeah.
So
I
you
thought it was a
think,
bacterial thing.
Oh.
Don't you get it from like contaminated water and things like that?
Yeah, which
Yeah.
means that if everyone that he's traveling with is getting it, chances are he's exposed to whatever
Yeah,
is
for
giving it to
sure.
them.
Especially sharing water bottles,
Yeah.
sharing radiators.
Yeah, we sucked water
You
out of the
finished with
same
that
radiator, bro. Should get tested.
In Kazan, in southwest Russia, the Spiker caught the Dions, which had enjoyed an untroubled run.
Oh my God.
So they were just cruising along, and he's caught them up by just driving
Jesus
like
Christ.
a wild amount.
It would be so funny from their point of view, just to have been just having a cruisy drive, and then all of a sudden, like, just a wild maniac man, and he's very sick,
sickest boy.
And they're like,
nearly dead boy.
and they've
catch
never
up.
met that boy either. They're like, where'd you get that boy?
boy.
Where'd you get the boy?
Who's that boy? He's unwell.
What happened to your other guy? I traded him for a boy.
No, because the other guy's with them now,
Yeah,
isn't
they've
he?
got the other guy now.
That's right.
The other guy's like, oh, so I'm replaceable?
Yeah,
You're going to
the other
give
guy's
another
like-
boy dysentery?
So they've caught up. The main packers all caught up again. Goddard entered Kazan at 4:00 in the morning of the 8th of August, having covered in 14 days the same distance the Dions had managed in over a month.
Jesus Christ.
Goddard's last 24-hour stint saw more land travel under the wheels of the Spiker than the Dions had seen in the previous 4 days. He had travelled 3,500 miles, not 1 inch of it on anything recognisable as road. As you're forgetting that this whole time has been on like dirt tracks and
This is unbelievable.
yeah, wild.
But I do believe it, Goddard. So
Yeah.
I do believe it because our boy.
By this stage, our man, the Prince Borghese, was still weeks and weeks ahead
Yeah.
of the chasing pack, and he was nearing the finishing line. He was so far ahead that the Ital went on a lengthy detour from Moscow to attend a party in their honor in St. Petersburg.
Oh, this
That's
is rabbit in the
confidence.
hairstyle hubris.
Yeah.
He's taken a nap. He's
I went-
taken a nap at the last leg.
I checked it on Google Maps. It's around 8 hours each way today with what I imagine are real roads. So
Oh
it would
my
have been...
God.
Like a
Wouldn't
day,
you just want it to
basically.
end?
So confident.
I just want to get to the finish line.
Well, I guess at this point, he's so
prolonging it.
confident. I guess, would he somehow be getting information how far behind everyone else is?
Yeah, I guess if they're all contacting...
And they're on the telegraph pole, yeah.
Yeah.
Then I
Oh.
guess he'd be like, whatever, I've already won, so might as well take it at my own pace and make it more
But
enjoyable.
wouldn't you also be like, why can't they have a party for me in Moscow?
Yeah, I'd say party in Moscow. How about a party at the finish line in Paris?
Yeah, but
Oui,
do you know
oui.
what? There have been situations in my life where I would have driven 8 hours for a shower.
Yeah, okay. I
Yeah.
hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Probably it was like, oh, decent food. Like, why not?
Yeah.
If you find out that it took them a month to travel a certain amount of distance that you've already cleared, you're like, well, they're not catching up to me.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
You don't know the Goddard of it all.
And apparently it was a feast.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And probably a bed.
yeah.
Old school food. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I'd
they were
duck in.
caked in
Yeah.
dirt and everything.
Probably
so-
even a shower.
Oh, imagine that.
They could probably even wash their car.
When were showers invented, Dave? Don't know why I'm asking you that.
I'll have to Google that.
I mean,
They would surely.
Yeah, 1907 is pretty close to World War One, and I'm
They
pretty
weren't
sure they
washing.
had showers.
They weren't washing in 1900s.
1767.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're all good for a shower. Yeah, so As I said, I'd drive 8 hours for a shower.
I have no idea about things.
Oh no, I
timelines
get
on
it
things.
too. Yeah. History is a mystery to me.
I absolutely adore that you were thinking cars and you're like, have we nutted out the shower yet?
I didn't know.
We got a car. Do you reckon we figured it out?
Yeah, but that's a fair call. Cars probably came after showers. So in the end, it took Borghese's Italia 2 months to the day to reach Paris. You think about all these times we've been talking about the others.
Yeah.
The whole trip for Borghese was 2 months.
Including
Oh my God.
Including
detour
a
for a party.
detour, yeah. His traveling companion, journalist Luigi Barzini, said, "I cannot convince myself that we have come to the end, that we have finally arrived." I
Yeah,
can't believe it.
I can't believe it. It was such a struggle for us, the two Luigis.
But can you imagine being the journalist and this prince is like, yeah, let's go to this party. And he's like, oh my fucking God, we are so
We're
close.
so close to home. Arriving in Paris, Borghese was hailed as a hero. It was big news, this race.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. Interviewed by reporters, Borghese said, quite modestly, "Every day when we awoke, we concentrated on nothing but getting the day's stage done well. Such a journey requires more patience than daring." It's like,
I don't know about that.
His speeches are insane.
Speak to the other guys, I reckon.
yeah. I think, well, maybe they should have been concentrating on doing one day's stage well as well.
Yeah,
But
that's true.
It does also sound like he probably had the superior car, which
Yeah.
is
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
the main advantage.
And a chauffeur.
And an extra, there was 3 of them. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
there was 3 of them. They had the better car, and he also brought heaps of spare parts, knowing for well, and
Yeah, the
had the
camels with the
foresight to
fuel
the
and-
camels
Yeah.
and fuel. Yeah.
So he basically won because he just thought about it enough.
Yep.
Yeah, I wonder if that was a wealth thing or if that was a forethought thing. Because
Yeah.
Goddard
other people
doesn't.
thinking for him.
Yeah, Goddard doesn't think ahead. He's just very good at thinking at the now.
Yeah, seat of the pants kind of guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you wonder if Borghese hit real bad trouble.
Yeah.
If
He would pull
he would have
through.
had the luck of bumping into locals who could fix him up. While the race had been run, the other 3 cars forged on. Then on August the 30th, 20 days later, the final 3 cars arrived together in Paris,
Oh.
ending the 1907 Peking to Paris motor race. So only 1 car failed of the 5.
And no
Amazing.
deaths.
And no
Yeah, that's
0
insane.
deaths.
And that means it was 2 months to the day for the first place, equal second for cars 2, 3, and 4. Did it in 2 months and 20 days, which is less time than they said, because originally it was a 3-month race.
That's right.
Yeah.
So even
And
with
your man Goddard is said to have come second.
Oh, I mean, in spiritually, he came first. He won.
Yeah.
There were too many victories to count for him.
But one thing I will say is he wasn't in the car when it crossed the finish line.
he
What?
wasn't in the car.
What do you mean he was? Where was he?
Well, in the final stages, the Dutchman's dramas continued. The money he obtained from the Dutch consul in Peking finally caught up with him when a Paris court found him guilty in absentia for obtaining the money by deception and sentenced him to 18 months in prison.
He got arrested?
At this point, he was still racing while this court case was going on. According to Frankel, just outside Berlin, Lemaitre had him arrested, ostensibly because of his conviction, but some also suggested to make sure a French car was first into Paris after the Italia.
Oh.
Spiker placed a works driver named Johann Frühling in the driving seat for the last leg of the journey, leaving Goddard in Germany facing an extradition order. But Goddard was not yet done.
Yes!
Yeah.
8 miles from Paris, the convoy stopped to regroup, and Goddard was there. They're ready for the final procession. He'd been extradited to Paris.
Yep.
As Freeling, the replacement driver, bent down over the starting handle, I guess that wind-up thing.
Yeah.
For the last time, there was a disturbance in the crowd. A man burst forward, stumbled, fell, stood, and ran to the Spiker's vacant driving seat. Goddard, temporarily beyond the clutches of the law, had come to drive his Spiker into Paris. It took a swarm of police to forcibly remove him. Shouting as he went to his old friend Dutalis to take over the Spiker he'd never driven, providing him with gear-changing tuition as he was carried away. He's like, Dutalis, you've got to be the one to drive it. Like, then we've done it as a team, not this new guy. It won't feel right if it's not you. Please, Dutalis.
And he's like, the gear shift's a little shaky. You gotta twist. No, you gotta twist it. Do the movements I know. Twist it.
That's it. I think exactly what it is. It's a little finicky.
And the key, it'll turn. It'll feel a bit weird, but you just gotta hold on. And what are you gonna do? Don't let go. Just into the ground.
Oh, I love that. I just so wild that he was able to break out of custody to almost try. Like, what did he think was going to happen?
Well, the same thing that always happens to him.
Yeah.
What he wants.
Yeah, that's true.
No, it's sad that consequences finally caught up to him.
Yeah, that is sad.
Well, sort of, because Frankel concludes Goddard, being Goddard, talked his way out of prison.
Yes!
Our boy!
But little of his life is known thereafter. Though he did enter another race or raid the following year, which I might do as a topic in the future, the 1908 New York to Paris race.
Oh, I think I've heard about this one.
That one they would have had to get on a boat.
They did. Yeah, I think.
Is that the one where they... Look, I know that this will be answered
yes.
in another report, but wasn't the plan to drive through winter so that the parts of the I'm pretty sure in the 1908 New York to Paris race, and I know that this is, and I could be wrong, and I probably won't be back for the next episode, so...
Or maybe we could reunite the same team.
The race car bunch.
Well, yeah, because I'm pretty sure what they did at points was they were like, well, a car can't drive on water, but it can drive on ice.
Oh, God.
So I think they go,
That's fun.
up, and yeah, things go real bad.
I
real
only read
fast.
about it briefly. I didn't see that, but that's great sizzle. Well, let's see how the people like this one. They might hate this
they
one.
could
no
hate
more
like,
of
no
this.
more cars.
Everyone
rubbish.
loved Goddard, but fuck Goddard.
So we're coming up to the end here. Obviously, the race is over. According to Tibbles, following its remarkable victory, the Itala was in great demand and was shown in London at the 1908 Olympia Motor Show. However, the car met an untimely end when, en route to being shipped to New York for another exhibition, it rolled into the dockside water at Genoa. The car was eventually salvaged but was badly damaged. The Itala thus went down in history as being the only car to survive a 10,000-mile race but not the subsequent exhibition. It survived everything.
Yeah, except being displayed.
Yeah, the view of the public.
The last thing I was going to tell you about, there's been a few tribute races run in the years since. And according to this great resource I found called wikipedia.org, in 2007, the Endurance Rally Association staged a rally to celebrate the centenary of the original 1907 race. Unlike other tribute races, this one followed more faithfully to the route taken by Prince Borghese in the 1907 race. Even heading to St. Petersburg, where Borghese attended his great banquet.
Had a party.
126 veteran, vintage, and classic cars took part, the oldest being a 1903 Mercedes.
Whoa.
The major challenge of the rally proved to be Mongolia and the Gobi Desert, with no conventional roads. Despite this, 106 crossed the finishing line after the rally covered 12,642 kilometres in 36 days. So it wasn't even that much quicker. Even with, I mean, and they were using old cars, but they had a lot more support. And
and they knew to bring the stuff.
More roads.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's still, to me, it holds up that.
Yeah, it's still impressive.
Borghese's original, and all the four of them who finished it.
Yeah.
With all that to go
It
through.
is crazy that not a single person died.
Yeah, isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
So much luck involved and the goodwill of people.
The kindness of strangers.
Yeah, really
Mustafan's
was.
family getting that news. Your boy will be dead.
But then he probably didn't die.
Yeah, I don't think he died,
Well,
did he?
no, as far as I know, everyone survived.
He didn't die in the race.
Yes.
It's hard to go back to an office job after that.
Yeah. He's just dead in the eyes with like that middle distance stare.
This means nothing. You haven't seen what I've seen.
Yeah, happy 21st birthday. You can get your license now or whatever. No, thank you.
Yeah. He never drove again.
Well, that brings me to the end of the report. Thanks so much, Douche and Cass, for joining us. Before you go, we've got a little thing. We've got everyone's favourite section of the show, but Dave and I will do that in our own time.
Yeah, that's fine.
If you don't
Yeah.
mind.
So that's a sacred
that's what-
In
privilege.
your own
yeah,
time. Yeah, of
I
course.
get that. I understand.
But before we get on to that, listeners who aren't familiar with Sans Pants, where can they find all both of you are on multiple Sans Pants podcasts?
Yes. So you can find me on Plumbing the Death Star, which is a comedy pop culture podcast. Baseless Speculation, which is a comedy pop culture podcast, where we speculate on what we think is going to happen in upcoming pop culture releases. Kind of like, think of like a YouTube video where it's like 10 things you missed, but imagine everyone involved in the podcast is very stupid and doesn't really know what they're talking about.
And it's not about what you missed, it's about what you don't know yet.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where every now and then we're surprisingly right about one thing, and then people tell us that we're right, and then it makes us feel good, even though we're wrong about 150 times before that one right. I'm also the host of Thumb Cramps, which is a video game review podcast. That's the big three I do. They're all on the Sans Pants Radio Network. Or you can find me on Twitter at Douche13, DUSCH13.
Yeah, you can also find me on the Sans Pants Radio Network. I'm on D&D is for Nerds, but I'm also on Shut Up a Second, which is a wonderful, silly little thing where you'll learn 1 to 2 things each episode, and a lot of it's just fun little chats. I have a great time on there. Joel's been on it.
I have. It's a great podcast.
It's fun. Come listen.
Thanks so much for having us. This is speaking of fun podcasts.
Oh, yeah.
Do go on.
How can we not mention?
Thank you so much for having us, and you're welcome for us having you at the Sans Pants Radio Studio in this podcast 69.
69.
Yeah.
No one else I'd rather do a pod 69 with.
Always pod 69.
It's beautiful.
It's been beautiful.
It's beautiful.
What a way to...
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Welcome to everyone's favourite section of the show, where we get to thank some of our great Patreon supporters who help make this show happen. I was going to be doing it with Dave, but unfortunately, since then, I've hit the road recording a new show called Good Tucker with Suren Jayamana as host.
Hello, that's me. Yes, very good to be here.
So we're driving from Malakuta in the far east.
It's apparently, I found this out the other day, it's the northernmost coastal town in Victoria.
That's right. So it's about halfway between Melbourne and Sydney.
Yeah, so it's about, we say halfway, using that term quite liberally, because it's about 7 hours from Sydney and about 6.5 hours from Melbourne.
Yeah, so maybe Melbourne edges out Sydney there for convenience.
But it's closer to halfway between the two than Canberra.
That's true, yeah. Our so-called capital city.
Yeah.
We just did an episode there in Malakuta where Suren met Lucy, who runs a restaurant there in Malakuta. Had a great
Lucy's.
time. It's called Lucy's,
It's a restaurant called Lucy's.
You didn't ask her how she came up with the name, but...
That would have been a good... Oh, that's a voiceover.
Yeah, that could be a voiceover.
This is a little peek behind the curtain for the listeners.
We went out on the boat yesterday. What else did we do? We fell down a sand dune.
We ate a lot of good food. We talked to the former captain of the CFA, who obviously got a hero here in Malakuta.
Yeah.
From the bushfires a couple of years ago.
Rod was great. Loved Rod's work.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's not what we're here for.
Loves a bit of fishing, Rod.
He loves a bit of fishing. Oh dear, you've come to the right section of the show.
Great. That's what I want to hear.
Wordplay is king, and you're filling in for Dave, who is the pun master. So
it's big shoes to fill.
Big shoes to fill. Not
Such
literally. He has small feet. Yeah. So, Suren, you haven't been on the show before, so I'll explain as we go. But basically, if you want to support the show, not you, Suren. I know you don't want to, but
this is sort of supporting it.
You are in a way.
My own way right now.
That's true. So if you go to patreon.com/DoGoOnPod, you can support our show there on a bunch of different levels. The first one that we normally talk about is the Fat Quote or Question level. And if you sign up on the Sydney Schomburg level, you can get involved in this. It has a little jingle. It's called Fat Quote or Question. The jingle just says those 3 words or 4 words, Fat Quote or Question. You want to sing a little jingle for that? Jess normally does that.
Fact, quote or question?
Yeah.
That wasn't the jingle. I'm just
I was going to say, yeah, a bit more melody would be ideal.
Fact, quote or question. It's a fact or quote or question.
Ding.
Fact, quote or question. It's the fact or quote or question.
That was fantastic.
Thank you.
Ding, he always remembers the ding. And the way to get involved in this, go to the Sydney Schomburg level. You get to give us a fact, a quote, or a question. You can also give us a brag or a suggestion or whatever you like, really. It's blown out a bit since it began. But I'll read out 4 each week, Saran. So if you're ready, I'm going to read out some to you right now.
Okay, let's do it.
The first one comes from Miguel Acosta, who... Oh, you also get to give yourself a title.
Okay.
Do we make it clear we're in the back of a car?
Well, we said we were driving from Malakuta.
Okay, so that was
the
pretty...
assumption. It's not a go-kart.
Yes,
I think
it was implied.
It's fair to... Yeah.
So in case there's any car-like sounds, we're going around a very windy road.
This is the windy road that leads into Malakuta. There's only one.
Yeah, it's also the windy road that leads out of Malakuta.
That's true, and that's the way we're heading.
Yes. So Miguel Acosta has given himself the title of Big Boy Miggy Seaman.
Is that a verb? Acosta?
Acosta. What's a surname in this case?
Okay, not someone who accosts.
Yeah. I'm an Acosta.
Yeah.
I've accosted you. I'm an Acosta.
This is the type of puns that Dave would do?
I think so.
They're big shoes.
They are big shoes to fill for little feet. Miguel has offered a suggestion, writing, My name's Miggy Wiggy, and I'm here to say, I'm giving a suggestion that do go on way. I'm about as happy as everyone else to see the world slowly emerge. Okay, I don't think he's doing the...
No, the rapid ended, I think.
I think the rapid ended.
But I was impressed by the way you committed to the rhythm.
I'm about as happy as everyone else
to see
the world slowly emerge from the COVID chrysalis we've been in for the past 200 or 400 years. I can't tell anymore. And I'm beyond happy to see that my favourite Facty boys getting real-life live shows underway. The only thing that makes me a bit sad is that I can't actually be there for the live shows the way that I could for the digital live shows. Made me feel like I was actually there supporting my number one favourite podcast. Now enough fapping about from me. My suggestion/question is, what are the chances that you'd implement a digital live stream element to your live shows for your fans outside of Australia? Let me throw my money at you, please. Anyway, love you, call your mums. Dave, congrats on getting married. And Matt and Jess, congrats on waking up every day. One last thing, how'd you like to eat my shit? Well, that's very beautiful, Miguel. Thank you so much for that message.
That was a beautiful message.
That was a beautiful message.
It's quite a roller coaster, had a lot in it.
Yeah.
And I presume is that sort of a running joke or an in-joke that
the how'd you like to eat my shit?
the Dave getting married.
Oh, Dave getting married, yes. Yeah, obviously he is a virgin, not married. But yeah, a little running joke we've got going that Dave got married, yeah. It was pretty... he went to great lengths, he even got photos taken. Someone to model as his wife.
The giveaway was the big shoes.
Yeah.
With the big feet.
Thank you for that suggestion and question, Miguel. I think we could probably do another live stream one at some point.
But Miguel would like you to incorporate some sort of digital element into the live shows.
Oh.
I think wasn't that the question?
Yeah, maybe it was. Yeah,
or
maybe.
the suggestion, sorry.
Which we did in the live streams we did during COVID, which is the main reason we did those, because people weren't allowed to come out.
Yeah.
But had the bonus of people from outside of Australia being able to watch as well. But yeah, good. I'll pass that on to Dave and Jess. I think that we could do another live stream at some point later in the year, I reckon. Thanks, Miguel. The next one comes from Sophie Shooter. Sophie Tutor. Can't believe I still get your name wrong, Sophie. Apologies for that. Sophie's got the title of Group Mum. Be nice to your sister, it's her birthday. And hers is a brag. This is it. Sophie writes, not really a brag, more of a mention. It's my sister's birthday today. Oh, that's right. Sophie messaged me saying that, asking if I could say this one on this particular episode. And I said, I'll forget, almost definitely. But it looks like
you've nailed it.
Looks like I nailed it, and if I've done this on the right date anyway. For Christmas, I bought her a bracelet with beads that signifies Morse code. I gave her until her birthday to work out the code, and she hasn't got it yet. So, Kath, if you don't want to know, stop listening now. There's a long-running joke in my family that she is adopted. So when I saw this bracelet, I just had to get it for her. So please say a big happy birthday to my, quote, this is what the Morse code says, unbiological sister, Catherine. You don't look a day over 38. That's a beautiful message, a beautiful birthday message.
That's a beautiful message, and I would suggest probably one of the most complicated Morse code messages to decode in the history of Morse code.
I hope she's been able to do it. I believe in Catherine. I think she would be able to crack that code.
She probably has cracked it, but she's a bit in denial.
Yeah, but I think it's time to face facts. Catherine, you're adopted. Nothing wrong with that. Thank you, Sophie. Happy birthday, Catherine. Next one comes from Daniel Headley, who's also got a brag, but Daniel's given himself the title of resident dickhead of the pod. There's a lot of few candidates for that role, but Daniel has the title, and Daniel's brag is, every time I give myself this title, you three fight over who the actual resident dickhead is. Hopefully, I just did it again. No fighting here, Daniel. It's you. You're it. We've finally come to terms with it. You are the official dickhead of the podcast, and we bow down to you. And finally this week, we've got Kate Hopner. It took me a while to read the spelling.
Yeah, you ran through it a few times in your head.
There was a spelling guide, and it took me a couple of goes.
And I think you've not actually. You have to pretend that.
Oh, the O's are there.
Hepner.
Hepner.
Right? Yeah.
That's funny.
Like
Hugh
Hepner.
Took me a few reads, and I still got it wrong. And Kate is the acting director of Panicking Department. The Panicking Department. An important department. And Kate's question is, any chance of a sneaky trip to Brisbane soon? Yeah, I reckon there's a chance. We just announced the Sydney show last week, or this week. So surely Brisbane's next on the list.
I reckon your answer to that should be that we went there, but it was a little too sneaky.
Yeah, it was very sneaky.
So you didn't.
Probably should have let people know.
You didn't know, Kate.
Yeah.
We're there right now.
No one really came because we didn't tell anyone about it. But I think that's a great idea, Kate. Thank you so much for the suggestion. The next thing we like to do in this great section of the show. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I told you guys about 30 to 40 minutes. So, we got...
Well, I saw us get to the end of that spreadsheet, and I was like, well, that was a breeze.
No.
I'm happy to be here.
Well, I mean, we've got about 6 hours to go on this drive.
True.
So, the next thing we like to do is thank a few of our other great supporters who've been on. Most of these people have been on, I think, for about a year and a half supporting the show.
Yeah, lovely.
And normally Jess comes up with a little bit of a game to do. Normally it's like a word-based game based on the...
Wordle.
A Wordle-based game based on the topic. So this week's episode was about the Peking to Paris car race. So, in a past episode, we might have done about Bigfoot, then each person got allocated a different kind of cryptid or something.
Okay.
So maybe in this car, you could give them each a kind of automobile to race in. Okay. There were 5 cars in this race, and one of them was like a 3-wheeler, 1 horsepower bike that did not make it very far.
Okay.
Very underprepared for the race. So maybe you could give everyone their own, automobile of any style.
Yep. Okay.
And I'll go through the names.
Happy. Let's do it.
All right, awesome. Well, first up from Albuquerque in New Mexico in the United States is Nathan Swap. What's Nathan driving in or riding?
Nathan, I think you'll be driving in a Honda CR-V.
Honda CR-V?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sort of like an all-roads kind of automobile.
Yeah, I think, Nathan, you're coming from the US, so, you might have to, you'd probably be driving on the wrong side of the road. So I didn't want to give you too challenging a vehicle. Right. You got the Honda CR-V. Yeah. It's a good car. It's a reliable car.
That's all. I think.
Am I playing this game right?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, you could go. It could be anything.
I'm looking at the list and it's long, and so I wanted.
There's 9 names.
Yeah.
You got to give yourself somewhere to go.
Yes, exactly. So we're starting with the CR-V.
Finish with the flying elephant or
whatever.
Yeah,
exactly.
Thank you very much, Nathan, for all your support. I'd also love to thank from Amersfoort in the Netherlands, Nicole Rolink. Do you reckon that would you say that Rolink?
I think you dropped the O, so I think it's Relink.
Relink. Yeah. Okay, good.
If Kate Hepner has anything to go by, I think you got to drop the O.
Always drop the O. That's the Dutch way. Thank you so much, Nicole. What's Nicole driving?
I think, Nicole, you're going to be driving a John Deere ride-on tractor.
Oh, that's good.
Yep.
The iconic green and gold.
Yeah, the green and gold with the deer on the side and the words John Deere.
Yeah.
As opposed to a non-ride-on tractor?
Some tractors are push. They got a push tractor. That's Bo, the sound guy, by the way, making a little cameo. I think, but there's. It's good to know someone's listening.
Yeah, that's right.
So I think it's a ride-on tractor. It's a ride-on mower is what I meant to say. Thanks for pulling me up on that, Bo.
Save you getting the tweets.
John Deere also make ride-on mowers. I'll have you know, and it's lucky because that's what Nicole Relink
Yeah.
will be driving.
And looking very smart. That's gonna be a great front runner, Nicole, for the other races.
Yep.
That could be really just sort of mowing a path
Yes.
for the races to come in, getting rid of all that long grass. Thank you so much, Nicole. I'd also love to thank from Pittsfield in, I reckon, Massachusetts in the United States, Joe Martin.
It's actually G, Martin, because you got to drop the O.
Got to drop the O.
If there's an O followed by an E, you always drop the O.
O before E, drop the E, you see. Yeah.
O before E, only keep the E, you see.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So what's Joe?
I'm Miggy Wiggy, and I'm here to say... Now I just, sorry to jump off Joe, because it's Joe's moment in the Patreon, but Miggy Wiggy, we just assumed that was meant to be read as a rap. I would like to revisit it at some point. It could have just been, hey, it's Miggy Wiggy, and I've got something to say, you know.
Oh, you don't think he was actually... Yeah, that's true. I hadn't really considered that.
So Joe, and what was Joe's surname?
Joe's
Sorry?
surname was Martin.
Joe Martin.
Or G. Martin.
G. Martin. He's coming from Massachusetts. I'm going to say G. Martin. Your vehicle is a 1972 Ferrari, but it's a matchbox car Ferrari.
So yeah, is he being shrunk down to drive it, or he's really walking with the car in his pocket?
I'm not in charge of the logistics.
Okay, but that's what he's got to work with.
But I will say this: it's a collector's. It's still in the box.
Still in the box, okay. So yeah, you got a decision to make if you do have Ant-Man style shrinking powers.
Hey, you might lose the race, Joe, but you definitely got something very valuable
You
in your
get to
pocket.
keep the car. So, that's a win, I think. I'd also love to thank from Fairfield in Queensland, Australia, Alexandra Munster. Alexandra Munster. And you're from Fairfield in Queensland. Alexandra, I think the vehicle that you will be in charge of is a IGA trolley from the Eager. They call it Eager in Queensland, but it's an IGA trolley. Make sure you bring some coins, Alexandra, because you're going to have to put a coin in to get the
trolley.
Where you pick it up from.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think hopefully Alexandra's her leg of the race is down a concrete hill.
You can, if you get a bit of momentum going on foot ahead of time, you can sort of jump into the trolley, and that momentum will carry you from Peking to
all the way to Paris. Jeez, you'd have to get a pretty good head start.
Yeah.
Start on a downhill. Yeah, because you got to go through the Gobi Desert, and that's hard to get traction on a trolley.
There's a lot of dunes there.
Yeah. But we wish you all the best. At least you don't have to worry about fuel. A few of the competitors had some real fuel issues, running out of fuel and whatnot. And
I promise you this, Alexandra, you will, with a IGA trolley, never have to worry about fuel.
Never have to worry about fuel. That's good. A couple of people survived by drinking the water out of their radiators, but she also won't be able to do that.
Guess what you've got in a trolley? Plenty of water.
Oh, so that's a stocked trolley.
Yeah,
been from the supermarket.
Don't take the trolleys. If you're already at the IGA,
yeah, wander
the aisles a little bit first.
Up.
Yeah,
that's true. Good point. Thank you, Alexandra. I'd also love to thank from Idaho Falls in Idaho, which makes a lot of sense in the United States. Big Stupid Jeff.
Big Stupid Jeff in Idaho Falls.
Beautiful name for a boy or girl, I'd say. Big Stupid Jeff.
Yes. Big Stupid Jeff, I think that your vehicle is probably my favourite vehicle of all the races in this event. And it's actually a hot air balloon. It's a hot air balloon.
Hot air balloon.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a much. I mean, if the breeze is blowing the right way, that's.
You can get from Peking to Paris.
Do you think, because it is a motor race, do you think the organisers would allow that, or do they have to just like chuck wheels on just to, in technicality, there's an Air Bud scene where the boss is like going through the rule book. Well, there's nothing in here to say that an air balloon can't enter the race.
Maybe the wheels are.
There's a tax loophole, at least in Victoria, where it's cheaper. You don't have to pay certain land tax or something if it's a caravan at a caravan park.
Yes.
So there's concreted in caravans at caravan parks
just to
get through the loophole. So they've got to have the wheels on them, even though they're clearly never going to be towed behind a car again.
Yeah, and I think the wheels are Big Stupid Jeff actually has, I think they're training wheels.
Right. Yeah.
I think they're training wheels because when he's big, he's stupid.
Yeah.
No one's going to trust him with an actual hot air balloon straight away.
Yeah.
You got to learn the ropes. The first.
You got to roll before you can fly.
Exactly. When you're learning how to fly a hot air balloon, they actually come with training wheels.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know that.
I didn't know that. That's fascinating. Thank you very much, Big Stupid Jeff.
Nine is a long list of competitors.
Well, normally it's 3 each when Jess and Dave are here.
Oh, yes.
So, yeah. But I thought, let's stick with it.
Yeah. No,
I feel like
I'm
we're
having
up to
fun.
the challenge.
I'm having fun. I'm getting slower, but I'm having fun.
You're giving more detail each time. I'd also love to thank from Manchester in Great Britain, Keenan Hinchcliffe.
Keenan Hinchcliffe.
Hinchcliffe. You're right.
Yes.
Jeez. Oh, you're reading over my shoulder better than I can read in front of my shoulder.
I know. I've just been tripped up by this before.
Right.
I have a friend, and his surname is Hinchcliffe.
Hinchcliffe.
And for the longest time, I thought he was a cliff, but he's a leaf.
I've never heard of Hinchcliffe. I've only heard of Hinchcliffe. I've got a cousin called Hinchcliffe.
Yeah, well, you should double check that, I reckon.
Maybe I should.
You should go back and just make sure he's not a Hinchcliffe.
So what's Keenan in?
Keenan is keen as mustard, I think, and which is why he is in a converted. It's one of those back in the day when they were promoting Red Bulls in Australia. Anyway, they used to have these cars that would go around and they'd do promos for. They have a big can of Red Bull on the back.
Yes.
He's in one of those, but it's a mustard bottle.
Oh, yeah, Colonel Mustard.
It's probably also similar. It's probably also a Honda CR-V, to be honest, but it's got attached to it
a
big
bottle of Keen's mustard.
Keen's mustard.
Wow, I love that. Big mustard fan. Love mustard. Thank you very much, Keenan. I think that's a sick ride, especially if you've got like all the mustard samples in the back.
Yeah, because
you could survive on mustard for
but
months.
you also have a bit of responsibility throughout the Peking to Paris racing that you have to be handing out samples.
You're spreading the good word of mustard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. So it's almost like a missionary for mustard.
Yes, and it's going to make it hard to win the race. You kind of have to get out in front early of the peloton.
Depends on what you mean by winning, because if winning is winning the hearts and minds of new people with mustard.
Well, Keenan, you are in the box seat.
Yeah.
And the driver's seat of a Honda CR-V with a mustard bottle on top.
What is the box seat?
I think it's at the theatre when you go to the theatre.
Oh,
they have a box.
Right. You're at the box seat.
But backstage there's a box and there's a seat in it.
Yeah.
And if you're
at the theatre.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you, Keenan. I'd also love to thank from Avalon Beach in New South Wales, Australia. Siobhan, single name there, kind of like your Schurs or your Madonnas.
Yep.
Everyone knows if you say Siobhan, you're like, oh, You mean from Avalon Beach?
Yes.
Yeah, I know Siobhan.
Yeah. She's not big and she's not stupid, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Siobhan.
She leaves that to Jeff.
So, Siobhan, you're from Avalon Beach in New South Wales. It's a beautiful part of the world there
Part of the world.
at Avalon Beach. Actually, Avalon Beach is the place where the airplane was invented.
Really?
Yep.
That's why Avalon Airport outside of Melbourne.
Avalon Airport in Melbourne is named after the Avalon Beach because that's where the airplane was invented.
This sounds like a real fact.
It's a true fact.
So there was that Wright brothers or pre-Wright brothers?
I wouldn't say they were right or they were wrong, but they were brothers.
And they were having a go. And that's the main thing.
Have a go, Avalon.
Avalon. Remember when Toyota tried to launch a competitor for the Falcon and the Commodore? And it was called Avalon. And the campaign, what was Sir Leslie Patterson? He did these ads and the catchphrase was, Avalon drive and you'll never look back.
Beautiful.
And I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah, that's a lot of people forget that ostentatious really just doing Sir Les Patterson.
Yeah.
So we got to tell Siobhan what she's driving.
And I assume a Toyota Avalon.
Well, I love that you brought up Toyota, Matt, because that is I didn't even have to do any work there because you knew exactly
Sir Les co-pilot?
what I was going to say.
I think that'd be a dream team.
I think
Siobhan and Les.
think his surname is Patterson, not co-pilot.
Okay, sorry. Apologies. Bit of respect for the Sir, for the Lord. Thank you, Siobhan. And I'd also love to thank from Godstone in Surrey, I reckon, in Great Britain. It's Xander Bryce.
Okay, Xander Bryce from Godstone in Surrey, right near the Oval.
Ah.
I don't know if it is, but Surrey, I think the Oval is
Yeah, closer
Surrey.
than we are now.
Exactly, and it's all relative distance. Which is why, Xander, it is relative, and so you shouldn't feel too disadvantaged that your vehicle is Puffing Billy.
Wow. That's a great get.
The train.
Are there tracks laid down from Peking to Paris?
Do you, for your international listeners, need to provide any context as to
I
Puffing
normally
Billy?
overdo context for Australian references to the point that it annoys Dave and Jess. But yeah, so they're not here, so I may as well. It's like a weird little, sort of a quaint tourist attraction in the suburbs of Melbourne.
Yeah, it's a train which I don't believe was ever a functional train.
Oh, it was only ever made for...
Yeah, it's sort of in the hills.
Yeah, it's sort of in
country
the
Victoria.
Forest Hills.
Forest Hills.
Just outside of Melbourne.
Yes.
And it's like an old steam train.
Yeah.
And it's not like international tourists. It'll just be like Melbourne kids and their families mainly,
Yeah.
I think. That's when I went out there. Did you ever go as a kid?
I've never actually been on Puffing Billy.
Yeah, right. I remember going.
I'm
when I
hoping
was
Xander will take me for
5 or something.
a ride.
And yeah, they do an annual race where you can run against Puffing Billy, and humans regularly beat
Yes. And so this time, Xander, the race, unfortunately, you won't be racing people on barefoot.
it. No.
You'll be racing a guy in a hot air balloon and a couple of Honda CRVs.
But he's going to be the only one on tracks.
That's true.
Yeah. Because a lot of the Peking to Paris race was they drove along train tracks.
Really?
Yeah.
Also, the tracks are already laid.
Yeah.
I was worrying. I started to drift because I was thinking about how we're going to have to build tracks
The only issue might
through
be
the
that
desert, through the Gobi Desert.
Yeah, maybe the gauge is wrong. That'd be the only issue.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll have to adapt the Puffing Billy's wheels.
They almost certainly the gauge would be wrong because the gauge between Victoria
And New South
and
Wales,
New South Wales
is
is
different,
wrong.
isn't it? That's so strange. Thank you, Xander. Enjoy having a puff. And finally, from Palmyra, maybe in New York.
Xander, I wouldn't recommend it. I think you should be sober when you're driving.
Okay. But I mean, it's on tracks. What could go wrong?
True, puff away.
From Palmyra, maybe in New York, in the United States, it's Ethan McLean.
Ethan McLean. I love Palmyra in New York. It's one of my favorite.
I think it's Palmyra. Palmyra.
Palmyra.
Yeah.
Ethan McLean, son of John
Yeah.
McLean.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Yippee-ki-yay. And your vehicle actually is going to be a lot of people don't know this, but the Empire State Building, which has wheels.
They've got that up on wheels.
How do you think they got it in there?
Yeah, really. I did not know that.
Yeah, it was built in. The French built it, and then as a gift to America, upon independence, they wheeled it in.
No, I think that was actually the inspiration for Donkey Kong and Mario Kart. Was the King Kong ending of the movie, because that didn't it end with him racing around a track on the Empire State Building?
Yes, yeah, exactly. That's exactly right.
Yeah, I didn't ever
cross
put that
over there
together.
with
Primates, yeah. And I mean, if you're a Primates podcast lover, there's a couple episodes of Saran that you should really go back and listen to.
This voice might be familiar.
So that's the last thing left for us to do. I should just say once again, thank you very much to Ethan, Xander, Siobhan, Keenan, Big Stupid Jeff, Alexandra, Joe, Nicole, and Nathan. The last thing we need to do is...
Thank you and good luck.
And good luck, yeah. All the best in the race. We'll see you at the finish line.
See you there.
At the Eiffel Tower, is that where we're going to finish? Or the Arc de Triomphe?
Yeah, I think at the Arc de Triomphe.
I didn't realise you spoke a little French.
No, sorry, just clearing my throat. We will meet at the Arc de Triomphe.
The last thing we need to do, Saran, is welcome some people into the Trippage Club. It's all theatre of the mind here.
Okay.
So you get a ticket in and you're in for good. It's a lifelong membership in this exclusive club.
This must be the hottest ticket in town.
It is a hot ticket, yeah. All it takes is 3 years of support. And what happens is I'm standing at the door. I've got the clipboard out. I've got the guest list. I'll read out the names. You're going to have to play the role of Dave Warnicky here, the pun master, who normally does a little pun as he hypes them up into the room.
Okay.
So you're up on stage. You got the mic. You're emceeing the event. Okay. Everyone who's been welcomed into the club before is standing, slow clapping as they're welcoming them in.
Okay.
You're up on stage, giving them the thing that really makes them feel most welcome, and that is a weak pun on their name or city. Yeah. And you also normally book a band. Or Dave does, but you're in his place. Okay. Often it's coincidentally to do with the topic, but it could be any band. Okay. Living or dead. Who've you got booked tonight?
Just the one band?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Tonight we have the Dave Matthews and the Little River Band.
Whoa, that's a super group.
Have I brought together two different things then?
Yeah.
No. Okay.
I think you brought together Dave Matthews.
Yes.
And the Little River Band.
Great. That's what I wanted. And they're playing an acoustic set before the food comes out, and then after the food they're going to come back on and they're going to go a cappella.
Oh, wow. I thought they were going to come out electric, but they went backwards.
No,
they lost their instruments.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I think Little River Band could do it if anyone can.
What about Dave Matthews?
Dave Matthews should be involved as well, yeah. Seeing as he's here, we may as well utilise him.
We have booked them both. It was a double booking, and I regret that.
You've made it work, though.
I regret that, but, from accidents come solutions.
Yeah, that's true. It's beautifully put.
Thank you.
Accidents are the mother of invention.
That's the action. Yeah.
That's not either, but and the other thing Jess does is normally she makes up a cocktail based on the show title. So what's the Peking to Paris cocktail involve?
The Peking to Paris cocktail is...
I know one ingredient I know it has is water from the car's radiator.
Yes, and from the trolley.
Oh, yeah.
From the IGA trolley. So the cocktail that will be present at the event this evening is the H2 Go-Go.
Oh.
Yep. And the H2 Go-Go is water.
Yep.
You get a little bit of water from the tap, and as well as that, some water from the Mount Franklin bottle.
Uh-huh.
Shake it up together, and then to that you add a spritz.
Well, that sounds delicious, and I think people are going to really look forward to those. I mean, they can get any other drink, but that's the specialty for tonight. So I'm going to welcome in two names. This is the last thing we need to do before we say goodbye. So you ready? You ready to hype them up?
Yes,
I'll throw the names at you. You can't look ahead, please.
Okay,
You
sure.
just got to go. We got to work with either some sort of a pun or wordplay on the city or the name, and just really rev them up here. Okay. If you do it like Dave, they're always awful. But he says it. Him and Jess like them. But anyway, first up from Alexandria in Virginia in the United States, it's Christine Walk.
Okay. Alex, ladies and gentlemen, please bang your hands together, make some noise, tap those forks on those tinnies, and get some hype in the room, please, ladies and gentlemen. That's not good enough. I need more energy from you. Lovely. Welcome to experience her very first time here at this Triptych Club. Please, ladies and gentlemen, lose your minds, go crazy, for it's not Christopher Walken. It's not Christine Nixon. And no one else can do. It's not a jog. It's not a run. It's a pristine walk. Is that sort of what Dave does?
I mean, that was way more than what Dave does.
Okay.
That was great. You really value added. Christine Walk got the VIP service there. And secondly and finally, into the Triptych Club this week.
Thank God there's only 2 of these.
Sometimes there's way too many, but it's from Vancouver in Washington in the United States, Terry Lynn.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, you did it for Christine Walk. You've only got to do it one more time tonight, and then we're going to get stuck into the H2 Go-Go's, and we're going to hear from the Dave Matthews and Little River Band off mic. Please, bang those hands together a little bit. Started over here with the golf clap, thank you, yes, and bring it around the room all the way to the back. Go crazy for, please, ladies and gentlemen. She's not wearing a terry towel shirt. And she definitely isn't wearing linen, but that's because it's Terry. Ladies and gentlemen, go crazy for Terry Lynn.
Welcome, Terry and Christine. Saran, you've done a fantastic job there.
Thank you for having me.
I'm gonna talk to Dave, get him to listen to this tape, and see if he can improve and learn. 'Cause that's all we ask. You know, you didn't only fill his shoes, you exploded them. Your toes are poking through the end. Thank you, Saran, so much for helping me out.
My pleasure.
Everyone's favourite section of the show.
I didn't have much choice, to be honest.
Is there anything you want to tell people about? Anywhere people can find you or whatnot?
I'm making a television show at the moment with Matt Stewart from the Do Go On podcast. It's called Good Tucker, and it should be hitting your screens, whether they be the 60-inch or 6-inch screens.
So it doesn't matter when it comes to screens.
No,
It'll
or
be all
anything.
of them. True.
Or anything.
anything.
And it should be hitting that around circa September.
That's right. And is your special still available to watch?
Oh, you can listen. I have a comedy special that was recorded in 2018, and you can hear that on the ABC podcast. And I also was on an episode of Primates.
Yeah, you're on 2.
2 episodes, but we don't talk about the first one.
What was the first one?
I can't remember. But I think it was the Mighty Boosh. And
yeah. It's hard to talk about something that's already funny. Us. Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, thank you so much for helping me.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
If people want to find us online, we're dogoonpod.com is the website, and dogoonpod is on all the social medias as well. Get in contact. There's a link in the show notes to suggest topics. Anyone can do that. Like I said before, if you want to support the show, patreon.com/dogoonpod. And there's merch now as well. We're doing t-shirts and stuff again, and they're available via the website too. So get involved in all that if you want to.
Tea towels?
We should do tea towels. It's a good tip.
Terry
we could do Terry Lynn towels.
Terry Lynn towels.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I'll have to talk to Terry first, but if she's up
you
for
got to
it.
run that past Terry.
Awesome. All right. Cheers. And what is it? Jess says bye at the very end. So I'll say goodbye, laters, and
Bye.
you nailed that.
Thanks.